Recently, many strange things have been happening in my house. Furniture has been moved, newly bought, milk is gone, bottles of wine have been spilled, and there are scribbles on the walls with mayonnaise and ketchup saying, "I am in your room, come find me." I don't know if I am being haunted by a spirit, but everything started that night. My sister and I performed a spiritual ritual for the first time to connect with our deceased mother through an Ouija board. I held my sister's hand tightly. The air turned cold. When the candle went out, red letters appeared before me saying, "I'm in your room. Come find me." Terrified, I ran to the living room and saw the TV was on, switching channels rapidly. Turning around, I saw the words, "Marry me," on the wall. I was horrified. I thought it was my mother, but it should be someone else. Someone real in the house. I told my dad, but he didn't believe me. He thought I had watched too many horror movies and couldn't tell the difference between fiction and reality anymore. Did he think I was joking or something? I was really serious. One day, my sister and I came home and noticed someone had used the bathroom. My father came home shortly after, and I immediately took him to see. His eyes filled with panic. He started searching the house frantically. When he reached our bedroom and opened the closet, a person wearing a ninja mask and a native-style coat sprang out. He was armed with an axe and a steel wrench, and he forced us into the bedroom, locking the door. My dad told me to call the police. Luckily, the window was open, and I quickly jumped down to escape. I couldn't think of much else. I just ran as fast as I could to the neighbor's house and called the police. But by the time they arrived, he had vanished. I was chilled to the bone. He had been hiding in my bedroom watching us. I couldn't bear to return to that house. The experience haunted me. I had recurring nightmares, fearing he would come back to kill my family. So, the three of us stayed at a nearby hotel. The next couple days, my father returned to the house to get some belongings and saw a man standing by the window inside. The police arrived and found threatening messages on the walls. A knife was stabbed through a family photo with the words, "I'm still here, come find me," written in marker. Another photo was pinned with a knife bearing the words, "I will kill you all." The police continued searching the house. They discovered a fake wall in the bathroom that concealed the plumbing. Inside, they found a hollow space with oddly stacked clothes. The police officer pointed his gun and demanded the intruder to come out. Everyone was shocked when it turned out to be a 17-year-old boy named Daniel. How do I know his name? Because he is my ex-boyfriend. I dated Daniel during the Easter holiday, but it was only for a short time. I heard many bad things about him. Daniel was a strange person with antisocial behavior and had been arrested multiple times for breaking and entering and theft. I had a bad feeling, so I decided to break up with him. Then, Daniel had been hiding in my house for weeks, pretending to be a ghost to scare and watch my family without anyone knowing. Someone I knew was doing something incredibly perverted. I heard Daniel was placed in a juvenile detention center. 10 months later, his mother mortgaged her house to pay $10,000 bail for his release. I thought the nightmare was over, but it wasn't. Less than a month after being released, Daniel broke into multiple houses, stealing valuables. The Gustafson family, a young couple with 2 small children, suffered the most. Daniel armed himself with a gun and approached the Gustafson home. The pregnant mother returned home with her 5-year-old son. Instead of escaping through a window as he usually did, he used the gun to threaten them, locking the boy in a closet and tying the mother to the bed, gagging her with a sock before shooting her. The 2 children of the Gustafson family were also unlucky like their mother when encountering this prick. The husband had been trying to call his wife all day with no response and rushed home. Entering the eerily quiet house, he found his wife's body in the master bedroom. He fled the house in terror and called the police, not daring to look for his children for fear of finding them dead. Fortunately, the police quickly traced Daniel through forensic evidence at the scene. They found a wet shirt and gloves he used during the crime in the forest behind the victim's house. Police dogs followed the scent on the shirt to Daniel's nearby house. However, when the police arrived, Daniel had already fled, leading to a massive manhunt. During his escape, he broke into the homes of young girls. When discovered, he fled into the woods. Later, hijacking a woman in her car, she seized an opportunity to jump out and call for help, causing Daniel to flee again. A few days later, Daniel was caught hiding in a trash can in a nearby town. My father, upon learning that Daniel had been released and caused such a massacre, expressed his anger to the media, vowing to kill Daniel himself if he were released again. It's so cruel. Even now, I'm still haunted by the thought that he's always watching me from behind the closet door. Or maybe he's secretly watching me shower from behind that wall. Daniel was brought to trial for the murder of 3 members of the Gustafson family and received 3 life sentences. I couldn't believe that my ex-boyfriend was a murderer. It's not ghosts that are scary, but humans who are truly terrifying.
I've always known my girlfriend Caitlin wears too much makeup. I'm not talking about a bit of mascara and some lipstick. No, Caitlin layers on foundation, concealer, and God knows what else until her face looks like a porcelain mask. It's not just her face, either. Her neck and chest are also meticulously coated, making her look almost like a painted doll. But here's the thing. I've never seen her without it. We've been dating for almost a year, and I'm crazy about her. She's smart, funny, and beautiful. At least I think she is, under all that makeup. But her obsession with never being seen without it has started to strain our relationship. She avoids any activity that might smudge her makeup, which includes not just swimming or running, but even simple things like getting caught in the rain, touching her face, or kissing for more than a few seconds. It's like she's always hiding something. One night, I decided enough was enough. We were staying at my parents' house, and I had stayed up late to finish some work. After a few beers, I made up my mind. I was going to see Caitlin without her makeup. I had to know what she was hiding. I sneaked into my mum's bathroom and grabbed some cleanser and cotton pads. My heart pounded as I crept back to the bedroom where Caitlin was sleeping. Her makeup had left orange stains on the white sheets. I perched on the edge of the bed and lightly dabbed a cotton pad on her cheek. Nothing happened. I wiped harder. Still nothing. The makeup came off on the pad, but her face looked exactly the same. I took another pad and continued, wiping the same spot over and over. Then I saw it, a patch of redness under the layers. It looked like raw flesh. No skin, just muscle and tissue. Panic surged through me. What the hell was I looking at? Suddenly, Caitlin shifted and her eyes snapped open, wide with panic.
Tom! What are you doing?
She demanded, sitting up and cupping her face. She felt the bare patch I'd uncovered and screamed.
What have you done?
She bolted out of bed and ran to the mirror, staring at the damage in horror. Then she turned to me, eyes wild.
You didn't touch it, did you?
Touch what? I stammered, utterly confused.
That!
She shouted, pointing to the exposed flesh on her cheek. I don't know, I stuttered. Why? But she wasn't listening. She tore out of the room and disappeared down the hallway. I sat there, stunned, until she came back, clutching a kitchen knife. Whoa, whoa, I yelled. What are you doing with that?
Shut up!
She snapped.
Which hand did you use?
I pointed to my right hand, too shocked to do anything else.
How long ago?
Maybe 10 minutes? I squeaked. Her eyes widened in terror.
It's too late! Your whole arm must go!
I scrambled off the bed, backing away. You can't cut off my arm!
I have to!
She insisted.
Or the infection will spread!
Jesus Christ! What infection? Caitlin, what are you talking about?
Tom, please! It has to be done now!
I wasn't about to let her amputate my arm. I fled the room, slamming the door behind me and locking it. She pounded on the door, screaming to be let out, but I ignored her. My parents, woken by the commotion, came out of their bedroom, but I told them we'd had an argument and they went back to bed. I spent the night on the couch, but I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what had happened. Why did Caitlin react that way? What was wrong with her skin? In the morning, I cautiously went back upstairs. I unlocked the bedroom door, armed with a knife just in case. But when I opened it, Caitlin was sitting on the edge of the bed, facing the wall. She had reapplied her makeup, and her face was once again a flawless mask. Caitlin, I ventured. She didn't respond at first. Then she turned to me, eyes cold and distant.
I don't think this is going to work out, Tom.
What? Why? I asked, my heart sinking.
You're not trustworthy,
She replied.
You knew I didn't want you to see me without makeup, and you did it anyway.
I just wanted to help you, I protested. I didn't know about whatever this is. She shook her head.
It doesn't matter. It's over.
I was stunned. But Caitlin, I love you. She gave me an eerily smile.
Yeah, well, looks like it's your problem now, too.
She handed me a bottle of foundation.
You'll need this,
She said, and then she was gone. I stared at the bottle in disbelief. What was I supposed to do with it? I tossed it in the trash and went downstairs. My mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. In the kitchen, my mum was making breakfast. As soon as she saw me, she gasped and dropped a plate. Tom, what happened to your face? I ran to the mirror in the hallway. My reflection stared back at me, horrified. A patch of my skin was missing, replaced by raw red flesh, the same as Caitlin's. I touched the spot, my fingers trembling. It was spreading, and at that moment, I understood. Caitlin's secret was now mine to bear. The infection, whatever it was, had passed to me. I was becoming like Caitlin, and there was nothing I could do to stop it.
Living in our old broken house felt like being trapped in a nightmare. My parents, Dean and Lana, controlled everything. They hurt us, starved us, and made our lives miserable. There were 13 of us, and we were all scared and weak. I'm Jolie, 17 years old, and this is my story. In the dim light of our room, Jessie and I would whisper about escaping, planning every detail as quietly as we could. Jessie was older and wiser, and she knew we needed a solid plan. She told me about the old phone hidden in our parents' room, which we could use to call 911 for help and prove what was happening to us. Then sneak into their room to find the phone. It was risky, but we had no choice. We decided to wait until our parents were asleep. That night, Jessie and I moved as quietly as we could, our hearts pounding in our chests. When we reached the door of our parents' room, Jessie paused to listen, her ear pressed against the wood. The rhythmic sound of their breathing reassured us that they were asleep. With a deep breath, Jessie slowly turned the door handle. The door creaked open just enough for us to slip through. Inside, the room was dark, the only light coming from the faint glow of a nightlight near their bed. Our parents lay in their bed, their snores filling the room with a heavy, rhythmic noise. My heart was beating so fast. I was afraid they would hear us. I felt a cold sweat on my brow as we approached the nightstand. Jessie reached inside, her fingers trembling slightly, and finally found the phone. She pulled it out and held it tightly, her face a mix of relief and anxiety. But then we found something else, pictures of us with bruises and chains. The photos we found in our parents' room were horrifying. One photo was of my younger brother. His wrists were red and swollen from the chains our parents had used to restrain him. Another photo captured the deep purple bruises on my sister's arm, evidence of the many times she'd been hit. These pictures showed how they hurt us. We knew we needed these to show the police. As we quietly left the room with the phone and the pictures, my heart pounded in my chest. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump, and I felt like the walls themselves were watching us. My hands were shaking. I held the photos tightly, knowing they were our only proof of the abuse. I felt a mix of hope and dread. Hope that we might finally be free, and dread at the thought of what would happen if we were caught. We made it to the living room, where Jessie quickly dialed 911. When the voice answered, it felt like a lifeline. 911, what's your emergency? The person asked. We need help, Jessie whispered. Our parents are hurting us. There are 13 of us and we're not safe. Just then we heard a noise. Our father was awake. He stormed into the room, looking angrier than ever. What are you doing? He shouted, coming toward us. Jessie pushed me behind her, trying to protect me. I was frozen with fear, but Jessie's words snapped me out of it. She handed me the phone. Our father grabbed Jessie and she screamed. I wanted to help, but I knew I had to go. I ran out of the house, my heart breaking because I was leaving Jessie behind. I ran down the street, not knowing where to go. Finally, I stopped and called 911 again. Please help us, I cried. My dad found out. My sister is still in there and she's in danger. The person on the phone told me to stay calm and wait for the police. As I stood outside, trembling and clutching the phone, the sound of police sirens grew louder. Finally, the flashing lights of the police car appeared, and a police officer got out and approached me. Yes, I'm Jolie, I stammered, my voice shaky. My sister and I, we need help. Our parents are hurting us and our siblings. The officer frowned, studying me closely. I could tell he wasn't sure if he believed me. I knew I looked a mess. Thin, pale, and scared. He stared at me and said sternly, Look, kids sometimes make up stories to get attention. Are you sure you're telling the truth? We need to be sure before we do anything. Panic surged through me. If he didn't believe me, we were doomed. I remembered the pictures we had taken from my parents' room. I quickly pulled them out from under my shirt where I had hidden them and handed them to the officer. These are real, I said, my voice choking with emotion. They did this to us. Please, sir, you have to believe me. The officer took the photos and looked at them. His expression changed from doubt to shock as he saw the images of bruises, chains, and other signs of abuse. He flipped through the pictures, his eyes widening with each one. I'm so sorry, kid. We're going to take care of this right now. He called for backup on his radio, explaining the situation quickly. Then he turned back to me and put a comforting hand on my shoulder. You're very brave, he said. Don't worry. We're going to help you and your siblings out. The officers rushed to the house. I stood outside shaking and crying, worried about Jessie. After what felt like a long time, I saw them bringing Jessie out. She looked tired and scared, but she was alive. Our parents were arrested and I felt a mix of relief and sadness. We were free from the nightmare, but it came at a cost. Jessie had risked everything to save us. We hugged tightly, knowing we had a long road ahead to recover from everything we had been through.